Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a great start to your weeks and a very happy Monday. Today we're going to be giving our daily cryptocurrency market update, where we're going to look at the cryptocurrency realm and the external world around us. We know Bitcoin and the crypto market is running into headwind from the deflationary pressures that the Federal Reserve are talking about implementing. They have started to reduce balance sheets and buybacks, and now they're talking about upping interest rates, which of course is a deflationary event which firms the dollar up, and our market is very tethered to and pegged against the dollar. But today we're going to be looking at something interesting, and that is the Kazakhstan news. Has this played a significant role in the Bitcoin price? We're going to talk about what actually went down and whether it actually had an effect on Bitcoin's price, because we saw essentially 18% roughly of Bitcoin's hash rate when Kazakhstan implemented the internet blackout to kind of try and combat what's taking place over there. Has this affected Bitcoin's price? And we're going to be looking at a number of graphs in regards to the hash rate. And this also really confirms something that we've spoken to you guys about on a number of occasions, and that is that if you look at this chart, really over here, China has played a huge role within this chart and shaping it. We know that China essentially banned Bitcoin mining over here and had a large role to play in this kind of capitulation we saw for Bitcoin in this sort of downturn. We had a similar thing take place with Kazakhstan over here. Now, has that led to a bit more of a sell-off than we'd have liked to have seen? Ultimately, and we've done a lot of looking into this, the sell-off that Bitcoin saw, and of course Bitcoin is still that tide that rises and sinks all ships, was really down to liquidations. Lots of liquidations took place, and I've got a graph here to show you. This is Bitcoin long liquidation dominance has hit 69%, the highest level since May 2021. This means that the majority of liquidations in futures markets over recent weeks were long traders attempting to catch the knife. It's often one reason we have these kind of brutal sell-offs for Bitcoin is really down to leverage. It was a high number of people got liquidated during this time period, and Kazakhstan really is just one piece of the puzzle that makes up the cryptocurrency market, and certainly Bitcoin. And we know that Bitcoin's hash power is very correlated to the price. So first of all, what actually went down in Kazakhstan? So let's start at the beginning here. When we spoke about the fact that China involved in here, China banned Bitcoin over here, and you saw a lot of the mining companies, the Bitcoin miners, actually exodus from China. A lot of it went to the US, and quite a lot of it went to the neighboring country, Kazakhstan. You can see Kazakhstan is over here. It borders China, and of course borders Russia. We're seeing Russia's involvement within Kazakhstan. And essentially, what took place in Kazakhstan was kind of a rebellion against the governing regime due to high energy prices, I believe. And essentially, one way that the government chose to combat the protesters and the rioters was to shut off the internet, to have a blackout. This affected Bitcoin's hash rate. Now, hash rate, what is hash rate? First of all, hash rate is essentially the computing power that goes into mining the Bitcoin network or maintaining the Bitcoin network. It is very correlated with the price. We've shown you charts of the hash rate in association laid against the price, and there is definitely a correlation here. And really, just this graph to start with, this one probably illustrates it more highly. You can see this huge drop in hash rate that we had. We know that over 50% at one point of the hash rate that Bitcoin bared was actually from China. This drop was very correlated with the drop we saw in the price. Now, that, of course, was due to China banning the mining of Bitcoin. So very correlated. They became forced sellers, a lot of the miners. They had to upship and cover costs. And essentially, we've recovered and gone on to make new all-time highs since then in a more decentralized fashion. The hash power for Bitcoin is now a lot more decentralized. A lot of it's now in the sort of Western world. But quite a few, some of those big pools, I think F2 is one of the pools in question, actually moved, or Ant Pool potentially, moved quite a lot of their operations over to Kazakhstan. And with this sort of turning off of the power, that probably spooked quite a lot of people, which then probably led into sell pressure, causing a mass liquidation experience. Nearly $1 billion worth of liquidations took place over here. They actually turned their power off on Wednesday, which was the 5th, I believe. which is all right around 5th or 6th when this kind of took place. So that's an interesting thing, interesting point to make you guys aware of. Some of you may not have known what hash rate was. And it's just all, we're dealing with a very complex, new, volatile market, and these are all factors of volatility. Couple that with the fact that we are running into headwind in regards to the Federal Reserve tackling inflation. I think the Fed are meeting on Wednesday. I actually think that what that's going to reveal is the fact that inflation's running hotter than the previous stats that they had, potentially. Now, that could lead to them sort of speeding things up, looking to implement rate hikes sooner. They have already previously said that they're not actually going to up interest rates until they finish the tapering of bond buybacks and balance sheet purchasing and so on. So we'll see. We'll take it in our stride, really, for Bitcoin and for all your altcoins, and we'll dive into them in just a second. So the huge inflationary event that took place in March, you're now seeing a cool off from that. But you will ultimately set up and see that continuation. I'm very confident about that, ladies and gentlemen. And ultimately, we have looked at the possibilities that a similar thing took place over here that's currently taking place today. So that's what we're expecting. We're not worried in the slightest, and I don't think you guys have any reason to be either. The reason I bring up the Kazakhstan news is because it's very interesting. Hash rate is something that we pay attention to Bitcoin, like I say, because it's that tide that rises and sinks all ships. And we want to look at the factors that affect Bitcoin, and hash rate is certainly one of them. And still, it's huge. China's involvement in this chart is absolutely huge. This is a graph that we showed you, essentially showing you that Asia was a huge sell pressure. Hash rate confirms that, and so does the charts in association with the hash rate. And you can see here, this is the sort of inflow and outflow of Asia, mainly China, and it was huge towards the end of the year. This had a lot to do with exchanges no longer being able to serve the Chinese citizens, and essentially that's sort of subsided, and we're now seeing it kind of come back to the upside. So that is one reason we do think you're going to see continuation. We think there's a huge sell pressure being taken off the table, and ultimately, one thing that I keep referring to, and I'm going to continue to do it, is the fact that Bitcoin, in terms of its adoption in crypto, is still very early in the direction it's going. We are still continuing to sell off and sort of slide today. It's very common, very, very common after a huge liquidation event or a huge sell-off, you get a period of consolidation. You get kind of retail getting shaken out. The last little kind of people holding on get shaken out before we see a move to the upside. And I'm absolutely expecting that move to the upside. And we've often said what took place over here is essentially repeating today, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just move this out of the way. And we do indeed believe that that's the case. And it's very, very similar in terms of structure. You can see you have this big sell-off. These, of course, were caused by two different events. You come up, you fail to make a high. You come up, you make a marginally higher high, and you retrace a lot of the move that you started. Same thing taking place today, ladies and gentlemen. You come up, you retrace a lot of the move, and then we see that continuation to the upside. And that's ultimately what we're expecting. Ethereum, still holding on relatively well. I am going to make a longer video on Ethereum because I hold a significant bag of Ethereum. It's one of my largest bags, and for the first time in a long time, I'm seriously considering maybe reducing the amount of Ethereum I hold and choosing other altcoins, other rising stars in a replacement of it. And this has a lot to do with the ETH2 upgrade, whether we're going to get it or not, and the fact that it just, at this point, potentially may not be able to compete with a lot of the other blockchains that are available. However, it is still definitely where the big money is in terms of the smart contract game. Cardano continuing to sell off with the rest of the market. It's to be expected, guys. Remember, and I'm going to keep reiterating this, Bitcoin is definitely the mover of the space. And you can see Cardano is just selling off with the rest of the market. Significant levels to watch for Cardano is you don't break these previous lows. If you break that, you've not got a lot of resistance. But we will keep you up to date with that. We're ultimately extremely bullish on ADA, given what's around the corner with the turning on of their DApp ecosystem and how this is going to be a huge driver for the underlying token in terms of use and utility. And there should be a supply and demand effect on that, which should increase the price, in my opinion. So this was really just a short and sweet video, just to show you that everything's correlated. There's lots of things you got to look out for in the cryptocurrency market. We're still in this kind of macro headwind from the Federal Reserve. And of course, what the Fed do really has a trickling effect on other nations. But we'll cross all these bridges when we come to them. We'll see what comes out of the Fed meeting on Wednesday. and we'll take it in our stride. So not too much to be worried about. The Fear and Greed Index, I think, was at 20-something. So it's a lot higher than 10. Despite that, the market continues to sell off. But we'll see what this week brings us, ladies and gentlemen. So that's really all I have for you. It's just a very quick, short and sweet market update where we look at a couple of external factors. I'm going to love and leave you on that note, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next YouTube video. Remember, there's a link to our Discord in the description. If you're not already following me on Twitter, head over to @RealAllInCrypto, and I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video. Have a fantastic Monday, ladies and gentlemen.